Beautiful morning. You're welcome to Women's Corner. My name is Rose Blossom. Where, of course, you're welcome to this program where we talk about women's success story, educate, inform women. And of course, to be part of this program, you can go through our YouTube or our Facebook page at Galaxy TV. We have Facebook to be Galaxy TV, Galaxy Television, basically. And of course, our YouTube channel to watch this program live is Galaxy TV News. And yes, we have our app on Google Play Store and Apple Play Store. You can download the app just in case you're on transit. You can actually watch this program live. So yes, you're welcome to the show. Again, I'm not doing this alone. I have my co-host. Good morning, Patricia.
Good morning, Rose Blossom. So I'm going to add a name to my name today.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to respond to what Chief Gordy said to me yesterday in the bus.
Okay.
I went home thinking about it. You know, Gordy gave it to me like that. And he was like, are you a white woman? Why do you have two English names?
Okay.
So I'm going to introduce myself today. My name is Patricia Uremu Gabriels.
Okay. I was going to try to pronounce that, but in my head, I'm already making the mistake of pronouncing it. So let me not just do that mistake, saying it out loud. But anyways, it's nice. So what do we have now?
Oh, we're going to be going to take the tips for women in their 30s. Stay tuned.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching Women's Corner, and of course, yes, that's the healthy tip for women in their 30s. Trust me, women in their 40s also can buy into the idea, and it actually works. Okay, so today we're talking about something regarding survival for women in every aspect of life. So we're talking about the survival instinct of a woman. Now, when I said this to someone yesterday, the person was like, you mean defensive instinct? And of course, I knew that was a man talking because they feel that a woman, for survival, they always tend to defend themselves. But that's not the truth. We have someone who's going to educate us more on that part. And of course, we're going to be towing the line of building resistance and, of course, adaptability. So if you can adapt to something that is not working for you, then you can build resistance. So that's what we're talking about today. And of course, we have a guest. Her name is Oluchi Jonathan. She's an entrepreneur, a minister, a farmer. She's also a woman empowerment coach and a speaker. Good morning, Oluchi. Can we have her on the screen? Good morning, Oluchi. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good morning to you.
Thank you so much for joining. It's been an amazing one. Okay, so basically you picked this topic, and I'm certain you have a lot of reasons why you believe women should have a survival instinct. No matter the situation or condition, it's either you adapt or you build resistance. And there are a lot of ways one can build resistance. So I'm going to start first with building resistance. And exactly how do you think a woman can build resistance to something or an environment or maybe the status quo at whatever situation that she meets herself? She just needs to be resistant, because sometimes people would think you're the bad egg if you try to resist. So how can she do that for herself without being too much?
Okay, thank you. In the light of what we're discussing, resistance, as in the word here, like you mentioned, is not about the male figure saying you need to learn karate, or no, that's not the meaning of the word here. Resistance in the sense that it from the point of view of what your goals, your dreams, what you've set your mind upon to do. So resistance in question would be you opposing whatever stands to oppose that goal, that vision. So it's not necessarily violence, no, mentally, so to speak, which will materialize into plan, which will bring about a plan, a structure, a means by. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You can go ahead, please.
So it's you resisting whatever stands in your way of achieving that which you intend to achieve. That's what we're talking about right here. So, in as regard a woman in the marketplace, as a business owner, as a mother, as as our gender, so to speak. So we must build a level of resistance to anything that tends to stand in our way of stopping, us from moving on that journey to, whatever it is we have set our mind, the goal we have set our mind to achieve. That is what we're talking about here. I mean, for instance, I will share my story to explain what I have or I'm talking about this morning. As a young girl, I grew up in a family where you will not be able to academically or what the world view is. We have first class, middle class, and I don't
Oh, wow.
know what class to class us. So decided to, move past the prevailing circumstances within me and around me as a person, as a young child. And of course, growing up with having little or nothing available, I decided to not, follow the trend, not follow the status quo. And I decided to, what's it called now? Create my own life, create my own journey. And I started. And as a young child, I remember while everyone would go to school, empty stomach, and I decided going to school, you're looking around the environment. How did I begin my journey in business? You see me at the end of the day, raise fund, and while others are preparing to go to school, Oluchi is preparing to, not just go to school, in there and attend to the needs. I don't know how to explain it. I know a lot of questions might be going on now. I was able to come up with money, and you see, the things that every other child go to buy from, I became the entrepreneur in my class. That way, I was able to fight back the reasons given to me as a child not to, compete in class, not to pay attention, because in a situation where poverty prevail, hunger and what have you, you achieve absolutely nothing. All your survival instincts would be how to. Am I still connected?
Speak better.
Am I still connected?
Yes, please go ahead. We can't interfere with your communications. That's why we were quiet from the studio. So we're listening to you, please.
I'm unable to. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead, Oluchi. Please.
You can hear me loud and clear.
Yes. Can you hear us?
Okay. Okay, that's just about it. Resistance in the world is not one of violence. It's just for you to stand up and devise means to stopping whatever is intending or had bent or is in your way to stop you. As long as you have a goal, as long as you have an end rather in view. Yes, whatever means you employ, it's your resistance to whatever intends to stop you.
Question?
Yes. Olitu, it's nice to have you here with us this morning. Okay, we'll stay talking on resistance, okay? I just want to get it clear. I know you're married, I know you have children, I know your husband is a pastor, I know you also you're a pastor, okay? So talking on resistance, building your resistance, okay. I want to ask a simple question. Like you said, growing up, you had to put yourself together to know where you want to go to, and how you're going to get to where you want to go to, not allowing the poverty in the family to deprive you from getting there. Now you're married. Is there a way that you could resist from your husband from getting to where you want to get to now, because you're married now? So do you think you could not allow your husband to stop you from making your progress?
Okay, in the line of as a family person or a wife and mother, there's literally, I think what makes it work for me in my situation is the fact that I am in partnership with someone who is in agreement with, or we have a common goal. That's where it's my own story is different. But you and I know that this is not the same for a lot of women out there. I don't know if you I'm making any points here. Really, the relationship I have, really, there's not been any cause to, because I'm married to a man who, if you tell him today that my breakthrough will come from what's it called now, Antarctica, he will give up everything and send me there. He will say, go there. So I really, in my case, in my situation, didn't have any reason, for my husband to oppose or resist. No, the resistance I had to, fight or bring to bear is just, situations around that won't, as an entrepreneur, you have a lot of things to do, you have a lot of goals, a lot of dreams to achieve, but you don't have the means. Now, do I keep sitting down and waiting for manners to fall from the sky? No, I just, create. If I need to, Apostle Peter would say, Paul, pardon me. He said, I know how to abase, both how to abase, and I know how to abound. So if I need to come down and do some menial work and do some other little things and to raise that, yes. So all those things that are coming to stand as an opposition, so to speak, are the things I contend with. Like, take away the shame, take away the, name it. Many situations are fixed. So as a married woman, as a mother, I really didn't have any cause to say, okay, opposing me or stopping me. Why? Because I'm in partnership with one who we have or share common goals together. So for other women that are faced or opposed with such a relationship, my sister, her wisdom has to come to place. Like, you have women who the men will say, you can't walk, you can't do this, you can't do that. Then how do you, resist that kind of opposition? In quotes, opposition, I mean, whatever the reason for that man. Okay, I have a customer, it's good, I have a customer who her shop was demolished. And everyone advised her in front of her compound, there's a little space where she could maybe set up a container or an umbrella and continue business, continue trading. But the husband resisted, opposed her rather in this situation. Opposed her and said, you can't do that, you can't deface this, you can't deface that. Now, how did she bring about a resistance in that situation, my sister? At the end of the day, once it's evening, this woman brings out her bench. Shebi is the husband said, don't put structure, don't put umbrella. My wife cannot be found under the umbrella. You have to wait until the shop is rebuilt. My sister, how did she resist that opposition? In the evening, she brings out her chair, sits down, and puts by her side a lantern, a light, where everyone passing or driving by will see her because of the light. And then they come in there. Mrs. Praise, do you have this? I need bread, I need that, I need that. And she began to attend to them. And when I saw her, of which I shared this idea, funny enough, I gave her that idea. And I told her, there must be someone your husband listens to. Can you please, if the person is even in your village, go to your village and tell them, please come and help me talk to my husband. Because of this reason and that reason, most importantly, the economy we are in does not permit you and cannot permit you to be seated. Even if your husband is Odogu, the Odogu Barara we know today, if your husband is that man, life can happen. And this your underrated and business, so to speak, could be the one to save the day. My sister, how did she build resistance? That was how I told her, put your chair. And in the evening, she brings out her chair in front of the gate. With the lights, they sit down as though they are just taking fresh air. My sister, she told me the sales she started making, in fact, within that short period of time, covered for almost what she makes in a whole day if she were seated in the shop. That's the kind of resistance. Putting your mind to work, employing the gift of wisdom, and that way her purpose is achieved. So that's all I have to say in this situation as regard a married woman and a mother. So for me, really, it's because I am in partnership with one who really never opposed me.
Deep story, and in as much as you just went a little bit into your story, by the time we come back, we'll definitely want to hear your story in full details, so that people can actually learn more from your story, just the way you shared that woman's story. We would like to know how you became who you are right now. What were the things you did? How were you able to maneuver, adapt, to resist, and become this better version of yourself? Of course, there's still more to come. So one will just go on a short break. We still have Oluchi in the house. Okay, not in the house actually. She's joining us via Zoom. But I feel like she's here with us already, because I love when people can actually express themselves with their stories or the stories around them. So let's quickly take a break, and after the break we'll be taking a tip for women, healthy tip for women in their 50s. I know it's looking as though we skipped the 40s. Apologies, but we'll bring that up some other time. So let's quickly go for a healthy tip for women in their 50s. I'll be right back, of course, to continue. And this time around, we hear the success story of Oluchi, and we'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. It's the Watching Women's Corner. Yes, it's time we bring Oluchi back on the screen, please. All right, Oluchi, welcome back. Okay, so it's time to hear your success story. How did you, because for you to be able to say, for you to have chosen this topic, adaptability, resistance, the survival instinct of a woman. You just shared one of a woman and how she was able to make a whole lot just sitting at the comfort of her home. Now, what is your story? Because people want to hear your success story of how you were able to, adapt, resist as usual, and become this amazing woman that you are. So please, we'd like to hear.
Okay, so my journey into entrepreneurship or business as you will have it, it's way back from secondary school as a young girl who, as of then, in fact, let me tell us something very interesting. One of those days, thanks to Auntie Pat once again, she's been a big sister for a long time, decades. She would know where we grew up. And one of those days, walking down the street, well dressed as a young girl, I used to tell people when I was a babe, And on a sunny day, I was walking down the road and I saw a male friend who just, Oluchi, how now? Long time. I said, I'm fine. He said, wow, girl, you are looking good. You are looking nice. And I just looked at him, smiled, of course. Thank you. Gave me all that compliment. And while he walked away, I stood and I looked back. And looking back, I looked at him. I was wondering, what could be so good? However, I was well dressed, truly. But my sisters, do you know, standing there, I had no underwear. I had no underwear, beneath my clothing. You can say that to be a scar or, However, my clothing covered it so well. And I was walking down the street. Now, I had no underwear was not because I chose not to put on one. At that point, I didn't have any. I couldn't afford any. So I would put on my clothes, pack it myself, and I went where I was going. It was that particular day. I knew. I didn't read it from any book. I didn't hear it from anyone. That was the day it dropped within my spirit. Looks are deceptive. I got back home that day. I could never forget that experience. I took my diary and I wrote it down. I used to do a lot of journaling those days. So I wrote down, looks are deceptive. And I wrote that story down. Now, what am I talking about? At that point in time, I made a choice not to go with the world or my peers, so to speak. You know, in today's life, of course, in my days as well, people want to trend, people want to belong, people want to be in circle where you will become, known, famous, and what have you. But I chose otherwise. That's why you would hardly find me, do anything trend. Let the whole world trend. Oluchi will not trend. You see, they are wearing this hairstyle today. I chose not to. Those were the personal decisions I took that, by the help of God, have brought me this far. Now, going back to my journey, it was way back there in secondary school, while everyone, every child my age would, hustle, so to speak, go to school, dress up in the morning. I do the same. Okay, get into school, look around me. Now, as a business owner, I didn't learn that. I had not learned anything business studies. I didn't go to Harvard, but I understood the fact that within your environment, your locations, there's always a need. There is always a need. So I choose to look around me. And then you see a lot of people come to school with money. And I looked, okay, what can I give to these people? What can I serve them to get this money that they have with them? And then I go back home, I will buy me coconuts, I will dice it and make coconut chips with sugar, and I will package them. I began to sell. That was my journey into sales, into business. And people, fortunately enough, began to buy. And we're talking about children. We're talking about, we're all sweet tooths. And that was how they started to buy. And like a joke, I began to count money. Until I journeyed down out of secondary school and down to my uni days. That was it. I looked around, university girls. I look at everybody. This one is trending. I go to the markets, the fairly used clothes markets. I go there, buy clothes, launder them, package them, and hey, I present to the girls. This is nice. How much? And long story short, I began to trade shoes, name it. And that was how I was able to build, such a client base, list that I had then. Until and God helped me through and through, whatever it was. Oluchi will always be there, to the point where everybody will know, okay, if you need something, I call Oluchi. Oluchi should have an idea. Even though I don't have an idea, they call me. That was how I knew Balogun markets. That's how I knew Lagos. Oluchi, can you help us get this? Do you know this? I say, yes, I do. And before you know it, I will end up with that conversation. I had no idea, but I will go ahead, make inquiries, make research. And before you know it, I will have that thing done. Okay? So that was how my story actually began, or my journey. But then, not to take much of our time. It didn't come with it, without, the challenges anyone can think of. A whole lot I can't begin to mention, which led me to letting each and every one of us. Not, I would tell people those days, instead of me to end up, except I choose to end up with a man. But instead of me, I would rather be a maid. I will go to the bus stop, go to the market. When you finish shopping, I will lift it for you. Those are the kind of, willpower. That was the kind of willpower I had. Giving up was not an option. And I would never, so long as I wake up and I rise and say, I'm going to, look, it might come in droplets of water, but I will gather it. And then before you know it, I'm numbered among those, okay, she has 20K, she has 1 million. Okay, so that's really the much I can really, we don't have all the time to go into all that story, but it was not void of the kind of challenge you can imagine. It was not void of it. It wasn't void of it.
All right, thank you very much for sharing that story. It's amazing how it took your own experience, your own self, to actually tell yourself, to really talk to people that you can't just know people just by looking at them. You can't really judge. You understand? Like you said, you had nothing underneath, but someone was already telling you you're looking good, and in your mind you're already judging yourself like, oh, I'm looking good, but trust me, I'm not wearing anything underneath. I don't know. Network is pretty bad, but you have one last question before we go.
Yes, Oluchi, just one last question. Just one last question for the viewers, watching. Was there at any time you wanted to give up and you were like, oh, all these struggles, I think I'm tired. At the time you just wanted to give up, maybe it wasn't working out the way you wanted it to work out, or it wasn't coming the way you wanted it to come, and you decided, you know what, maybe I should just stop and give up. Was there any time you thought of that?
Well, to be honest, yeah, there are moments of breakdowns. There were moments, I wouldn't call it give up because I had something going for me, which I would say faith. I don't know why and how, because when I come in contact or hear stories of people who they say they went into depression or they gave up and actually even go the extra mile of giving up on life itself in terms of suicidal thoughts and eventually carrying it out, I'm baffled. I wonder what it is. So what I have going on for me at every point in time, I am faced with situations that, calls for any other person to give up is faith. Like, for instance, I will give us this last story. In my uni days, I know because I'm one of those Nigerians, who had to write JAMB over and over again. I'm sure I wrote JAMB like up to 3 or 4 times. The same thing with WAEC. I wrote again and again. Now, don't get it twisted. People who, you write JAMB, write WAEC, sometimes missing results, it doesn't come out. Even eventually some will come out, you are looking for a credit and you are getting a D. Okay, I went through all of that. So I had every reason not to, to even, in fact, at that point. Now, okay, I think this is the answer to your question, Auntie Paf. It was through the time awaiting result, admission into university. It got to me so bad because I finished secondary school about 95, 96. Now, all of my mates were in uni. I was going nowhere. 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000. I got into university year 2000. After my mates were already serving, after my mates were already engaged in employment, that was when I got admission. And now the admission didn't even come like with free. I had to fight for it. At a point, I would tell people, why do I have to fight for everything I have? Why do I have to labor so much? It became a burden. And this right here, my sister, is the reason why I said no. Why? Because every other person getting it, they don't have an extra head to their neck. Fighting for that admission, I got into Lagos State University. And then I wrote, that was the first year NECO started. I was one of the pioneering students that wrote NECO. Now, I was awaiting results. We went in. Now, for the BA, I studied English language in Lagos State University. Now we got in there, got the admission forms and what have you, and we're also the pioneering students of the evening classes. And that was how I wrote, filled in everything. I was excited. Then I got what's it called, the acceptance letter. I was excited. It was like a joke. Are these people okay? Did they really check me out? I kept pushing. I didn't have all the requirements. I kept pushing. Long story short, when we eventually had the list out, my name was there. But I go to school campus every day. I checked the list, I saw my name. My heart was still panting. I said, God, I not get this result. Long story short, the result finally came out. And it was a D. Or was it a D now? A P pass, pardon me. Guess what? Because there's a statement I tell people around me, people are mentoring. I say, when you rise up to push and work towards your goal, listen, whether you're a believer, you're an unbeliever, God, the Bible tells us that the grace of God is extended to all men, not Christians. Now, when you rise up to take steps towards your goal, towards your dream, God will back you up. That was how the result didn't come out well. Yet the admission list came out, my name was there, and they actually went ahead and started, Department of Faculty of Arts started admitting students, only for them to have, a lot of people have made payment, acceptance fee, and some of the fees, and then they found out, and all of a sudden there was an emergency meeting. They called and gathered everybody and said, listen, we just found out some of you are applying for to study English language without literature. It was literature. It was literature they found out. They didn't find out. Maybe they have gotten to my own documentation. They will have found out my English was not. How can you be coming to study English language and you don't have the requirements? My sister, literature, a lot of people, including myself, were signing in for the admission with a pass, and they said that's not acceptable. However, they came up, the department, the faculty rather, came out with what they called a waiver list. A waiver list giving us 2 years to get the requirement documentation. My sister, that was my breakthrough. That was how this girl we are looking at went through the university. And with the help of God, before I graduated, I sat again for WAEC, and I had all my papers, maths, English, all the requirements in credit. Now, that was one point in my life that I felt, no, how is it possible that everything in life is saying no to me? Like, I want to move forward, I cannot move forward. I want to know, and going backwards was not an option. I felt every day by day that I'm closer to my destination than I first began. So each time I look back, it's like it's too far. So it was never an option to go back or give up. So what I had going for me and to pass was faith. Now, what did I do differently? I remember when they came out with that list that admission registration should stop. There was a problem. Students, they noticed a lot of students, came in with a pass instead of the credits. While the meeting was ongoing, my sister, that was the point I now went on my knees to God in prayer. And I told him, I said, God, I don't know what you are doing, but I did not drop from the sky by myself. You found your way, you brought me here. How can it be possible that everything is working against me? Look at this, look at this, look at this. I prayed all the prayer I could pray. And I got up, dusted, cleaned my tears, and I moved. So what I had going for me, my sister, was faith. Faith in God. That was all.
Okay. All right. Well,
knowing that with God, nothing is the story of how
the network is pretty bad, but I'll
ensure that nothing I want to
Oluchi,
give up.
I'm so sorry.
That's one
thing. Hear us from the studio. Hello. I'm so sorry. Your story is so amazing. Trust me, if I knew this, I would have said you should start this story from the starting of the program and not even ask any question, because your story is enough explanation, enough reason, enough boost, motivation for every other woman out there. In fact, you even started as when you're still going to school, so you're still young. So it's enough for an adult, a young adult, a teenager to be able to learn from. But we have to let you go right now. We'll bring you back again, and you continue, of course, from where you stopped, because we want to know how you got through school, how you were able to get a job, how you were able to meet your spouse. What was the story like? And of course, the people that probably are looked down on you, what was now their tale? How do they now see you? Are they now begging you? Are they asking for forgiveness, or are they celebrating you? Anyway, that's a whole lot. But thank you so much, Oluchi, for being part of the program today. Please, can we have on the screen we could say a proper thank you. Okay, so thank you very much, Oluchi, for being part of the program. Really appreciate you. We love you, and I love your story. I love your story. Thank you so much for joining the program. Okay, all right. So, Patricia, wrap up.
Thank you, Oluchi, for joining us. Thank you so much for your story. It's not everybody that wants to open up like that, Blossom. But you've taught us a lot of things today. Thank you for your story. It's about time to call off today's show on Women's Corner. We're going to be back again at 12 for the boss. Blossom and I will be here. Stay tuned.
Okay, and that's it on Women's Corner. We'll be seeing you pretty soon on the bus. Do have a beautiful day for yourself. My name is Rose Blossom. Bye for now.